What's going on, y'all? Happy Wednesday. I titled this, We Are Normalizing Dysfunction and We Don't Even Know It. And so many of us are doing it, or we're connected to people doing it. And we're going to talk about it. So, you know the drill. Share this with a friend. Stay tuned and join the conversation. What's going on, y'all? Jamie Alexander here. And per usual, you know I'm not going to have this conversation by myself. So I have dating and relationship consultant Inyatu Marvel with me.
Hey
What's
Jamie, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Look at us with our t-shirts.
Yes, yes, yes.
Casual
Happy
Wednesday for me.
Wednesday.
There we
Absolutely.
go. Everything's good. I had, a little, my day is up and down. I can't complain though. Life is good. Things are getting done. And here we are.
Sounds like your days have been like Chicago weather, up and down, up and
Woo.
went from heat to air conditioning to back to heat.
That is one thing I don't miss
Mm-hmm.
about the Midwest, about Chicago in particular.
Need some of that California love.
I know, always. Ooh, we're so spoiled in California.
Indeed.
Yes. And so I'm excited to have this conversation because it stood out to me. I was like, wow, this man, well, I'll share how I feel about it after I share it. So you want to dive into the clip?
Sure.
Let's do it.
You said you never given anybody your heart. Did she get any? What if it was a percentage? What percentage did she get of you? When you asked her to be your wife, what percentage did she have of you?
Well, I think at the time I thought it was 100%. Because of that euphoric feeling that I had, that feeling of being around her and loving her and feeling safe around her. But in retrospect, as I go through therapy and really go through the process, I realized that she had a damaged heart. And so even if she had 100% of my heart, it wasn't functioning properly because it was damaged. And
hold on, you gotta let this sit there. Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah, you can take a damaged heart and put it in a brand new box, and it looks pretty, but when you open it, it's yet still damaged.
Yeah.
And I did not know it was damaged because the reality, LT, is that we oftentimes normalize dysfunction.
Yes.
And for me, I learned how to function with a dysfunctional heart.
Yes.
To make it look functional.
Yes.
Right. And it's not until sometimes you get in a relationship with somebody that they can point out that you are a functional dysfunction. And it's hard to admit.
So good. I was like, wow. Okay. So what were your thoughts on this clip overall with this gentleman sharing his heart?
So I know both of these guys. I don't know them personally, but during the pandemic, the app Clubhouse took off, and we shared many a stage together. Corey and I forget the other gentleman.
Lateris? Is it?
Yeah. So and he calls himself something else on. He has a handle besides his government name, but no, very very potent conversation. I almost missed it. I had a blind moment.
No, it made sense. Yeah.
The first time that I watched it, but it boils down to what I would call emotional availability, right? And that a lot of times, consciously and or unconsciously, we've closed off parts of our hearts to protect it. And it's been so long, and we've functioned that way for so long that we think that we're healthy, right? I see people all the time, like, they're talking about the opposite sex needs to get healthy. And as I'm watching how they're communicating on their page and the posts that they're making, I can clearly see that, that they have room for some more healing as well. But a lot of times we tell ourselves we've done the work, we experience 6 months, maybe even a year, where we were able to manage our triggers well, and we think that everything it's all good. And I tell people all the time, nothing will expose you like getting into a real relationship, right?
Woo. Facts. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, I think we lost him for a second there.
Sorry
Oh,
about that.
it's
Yeah,
okay.
I used to have this trouble with StreamYard a few years ago, and then it stopped, and I don't know why it's
Oh,
happening
yeah.
again. But ultimately,
Right. Yeah.
we'll be telling ourselves that we're fully healed, and that a relationship will expose us. And so
Mm-hmm.
he talked about having gone to therapy and that, bringing things to the forefront and being very helpful. And so I'm glad, always happy to see other men, especially other Black men, endorse, getting some help with the healing process, get some help with identifying areas where, we may think that everything is normal, right? But really we're just dysfunctional people because we muscle through it and power through it and are able to still get a lot of things done. But certainly we aren't maximizing our relationships when we're operating in this space.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought about it. Okay. It's okay if people make fun of my feet because I make fun of my feet.
Uh-oh.
I have this pain in the right side of my foot just from years and years and years and years of stilettos and relying on the wrong parts of my feet to hold me up. So can I walk? Yes. Can I dance and work out and all of this? But there's just a lot of the time I'm in pain, and I went and got this little thing that I could put on my foot to kind of give it a little bit more alignment. And when I started working out, and I have my own little house dance parties, because there is nothing like turning the music all the way up and going nuts. That's what I do anyway. So I do my working out, I do my dance party. I'm walking around and I'm astounded. Like, oh my God, I've been walking around in pain and more limited than I even thought I was this whole time. But I just got used to it. I got used to not being able to do certain things or not being able, and I had no idea because I'm still very mobile.
Right.
Everything still looks good, and but it was just this one little thing that put me in a space to be able. And so now when I'm dancing or I was like, I knew I wasn't getting old. I knew it. It was just, I was just in a little bit of pain, and my body had adjusted to moving limited due to the pain that I was experiencing. And once I removed that, it was a whole new world. So I was thinking about when I saw this and how unaware we are of our pain, and how we're functioning in a limited capacity because we've been doing it so long. It doesn't appear that way. We think we're showing up whole. And I'm pretty sure when it comes to relationships and the heart stuff, I'm pretty sure I have some of that stuff going on, especially because, again, it kind of takes relationship in that mirror to reflect back to you so you can see what is what and for people to tell you. So I just loved his transparency, and being able to articulate that no matter how long it took, because I do feel like it could kind of be challenging for men. I always try to bring some personalization into this, and I've been around a lot of men. I know they're good men. I know when they come to me and say they're ready for this thing, that they genuinely feel like they are. But as soon as we start to enter some of the stuff, it's just like, like, damn, you don't even know how to walk. Like, we can't run nowhere. And it's not even a diss. It's so I think it is very healthy to acknowledge these things. So one question that I had to ask for you, because I've heard this before from a man, is that euphoric feeling in the beginning when loving a woman. It's like, I love that, but I'm also, it scares me a little bit. So what is that about?
I think it's about falling in love, right?
Yeah. So, okay.
There is a newness component. There can be a newness component to it, but it's not just newness, because you don't feel this way every time you meet somebody new, right? Mm-hmm. And so, as much as I understand that euphoria will not carry a relationship in the long term, I want it and I need it too. I want that too, right? I want the connection, I want the communication and all the technical components that we need, but I also enjoy that feeling of euphoria, and that doesn't just go away after the honeymoon phase with certain women, at least not for me. And so another reason why I was pleased to see him speak about this is because he discovered this after marriage, right? After
Right.
already being married. And so many times, you know, things are perfect and we're in this honeymoon stage, and then we get to a space where there's a difficulty and we assume that it's a deal breaker. Sometimes it is a deal breaker. Sometimes it's just shocking and jarring, and it's just disillusionment. You know, okay, wow, this is not going to be perfect every second of every day. That I thought that I had, I thought I made it to Wakanda or to Zamunda and coming to America, where you know royal bathers and walking on rose petals all day every day.
Right.
And you find out that it's not that, which doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right.
It just means that you're both human beings. And so I like that testimony too, because so many people, when they reach the third stage of relationship, which is the disillusionment and, you know, finding out that things aren't perfect, that people run from it. And
Yes.
they repeat that cycle over and over again. They meet people, they don't like them. They meet people, they don't like them that much. They meet people, they almost the one. Then they meet somebody that's like, that euphoria is there. I really like them. I'm getting the butterflies. I'm excited. You know, I'm super duper attracted to them, not just physically, but just the way that they speak and think and all of these things, all of the things are there. And then you run into an obstacle that comes about, and how people handle it in that moment, you know, people are making decisions just based on that. And so I applaud him for two reasons. For one, for being transparent and vulnerable in what was the flaw in him, in his relationship and his marriage. And then also for having the wherewithal and the stick-to-itiveness and the commitment, right?
Yes.
To go along with that euphoria, to when you realize something is wrong, to be willing to do whatever it takes to do the work, which in some cases means getting some help.
I loved it because I mean the commitment over everything. Because you're right, people are dating. They're, you know, they might really like somebody. It's all this and that. And the second that there's a bump in the road, people act like, you know, everything starts to come up on all parties' ends, and it's like, is this something we can overcome or not? So
Right.
for him to be functioning in what he can articulate with something so limited, but make it all the way to marriage is definitely commendable. And then another thing that I was curious about is, you know, towards the end, he talked about somebody being able to share that with you. And that's something that I also can find to be a little bit challenging, because you don't want to approach somebody like, this is what's wrong with you. And you can cover it in any kind of words, any kind of genuineness or whatever. But I feel like sometimes it's hard to kind of communicate to someone like, I don't know if you know, but this is really in the way. Because sometimes those can be really sensitive things and really sensitive topics that you don't know if even bringing it up is going to make that person just walk out the door like, how dare you?
Right. Definitely delicate situation.
Delicate.
Not one to be avoided, though. You know, one of my favorite quotes is that avoiding difficult conversations in the short term leads to dysfunction in the long term. And so, yeah, you can pick your moment. You know what I mean? You don't have to say something the moment you realize it. Like right in that second, you might want to think about it a little bit. Sleep on it or something.
Dang.
Give it some thought. And I find that, you know, one of the best ways to approach things is to ask questions. Right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know, I care about you. I think, you know, this relationship could be tremendous. I want it to be tremendous. And so when I see something that I think might stand in our way, I want us to be able to say something to each other about it, or at least ask each other about it, and then ask them, do they agree? Okay, yes, I agree. Okay, great. I see something that might or may or not be standing in our way. I'm no expert, but it looked that way from where I'm sitting. Is right now a good time to bring that up, right? For us to maybe have that discussion, or do you want to go have dinner tomorrow and talk about it, or do you want to wait till the work week is over and you know what I mean? You gotten a little more rest this week and wait till easy like Sunday morning we can throw in the dusties and talk about it, or go to brunch and talk about it, and just ease into it, but don't panic. Don't panic.
Right. Yeah, and I think people do panic. I really think people panic, and then you start to invite all of these things in, like the attachment styles, being anxious, being avoidant, and everything in between that spectrum. So it can be really challenging. So when I see stuff like this, it definitely makes me wonder how and when we can get to a place where we know these things about each other. We know potentially, like, again, if you're in your 30s and 40s at this point, I don't want to say that you're carrying more baggage, but you've lived a little bit more life.
No,
So there's
you got more baggage, you got more furniture, you got more clothes, you got more everything.
You just got more.
You might
right?
have more degrees, more more plaques on the wall. You got more pictures in your phone than ever
right.
before.
Right.
It's just reality.
There's just more. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more. And it's like, how do we get to the point where, and I think about this often, again, with people who are like, I'm ready to do this thing. What does ready mean? Does it mean that you are just feeling like you can entertain someone? Because what I think we're leaving out is when you say you're ready, one of the last relationships that I was in, I felt like I had to explain to him, like, this isn't going to be easy, right? There's going to be times, we're two completely different people. We're adults already and we're trying to come together. So it's not always going to feel like a walk in the park. So I'm wondering when and how we can learn to invite in the work of love, because without that, there's just no way to be able to get to the point where we are going to marry. And again, I'm not telling people to throw away their non-negotiables, because some stuff just isn't going to work, and it's okay. Right. But when there's just these bumps in the road, and we talk about, there could be like red flags or speed bumps are different than a brick wall. But when we got these little speed bumps going on, I'm wondering when we can get to the place where we are prepared for the work of love.
So you just, that final statement was it right there, that many people are ready for it, meaning they desire it, right?
Yes.
But that ain't the same thing as being prepared.
No.
Right? And so, whenever I can bring up an example that I feel like people can relate to, Jay-Z, as far as Beyonce is concerned, he said he was aware that he had this emotional unavailability. He was aware that he had this protect himself approach to relationships, and that he came to the conclusion that it was because he didn't have a relationship with his father. Mm-hmm. And that once he reconnected with his father, okay, boom, I'm ready now. Like that was the thing that was holding me back. And so then he jumped into a relationship and even a marriage with Beyonce, not realizing you need tools to have healthy relationships and marriages. You need conflict resolution skills. Yes. You need interpersonal skills. You need more patience than you've ever had before
in your life.
In your life. In your life.
In your life.
Right? In your life, that you have to apply some of the unconditional love that you may have for like a child and or a parent. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to translate that to a form of unconditional love in your relationship and marriage once it gets to a point. And so what I want to share is maybe some indicators that you may have normalized your dysfunction.
Oh,
right.
Come on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we meet people and we have different experiences. And so one of the things I noticed about myself, I look at the last 10 years, some relationships I got into and I continued to pursue those relationships even after I discovered that I found myself needing to hold back or even look at ways like, need to protect myself here, need to protect myself there. And there were a couple of relationships where that wasn't the case, where I did not feel like I did not feel like that person would ever do anything intentionally to harm me, or that I was ever in danger of them intentionally not loving me the way that I needed to be loved. And so that allowed me to be fully emotionally available. In those other circumstances, whether it was through getting to know them or having some type of experience together early on, I felt myself holding myself back at times, and asking myself, is it time yet? Is it this? Is it that? And that is an indicator within itself. If you're having to use the rules to survive the relationship, right? You're having to implement the policies and procedures, right? Then you're, not fully emotionally available, right? And I'm not saying emotionally available means be a fool, right? But you can healthily give of yourself when the opportunity presents itself in a relationship that you're feeling. But I find so many times I talk to people and they say, wow, even in the honeymoon phase, they like, man, I'm loving it, but I don't know. And it's like, why do you know? Don't know. I don't know why I don't. I don't know. So then that's something, that's something going on with you. And so you need to dig deep and, ask yourself that. If you are comparing anything to past relationships, again, part of emotional availability is being able to give something a blank canvas.
Yes.
It's not a blank canvas if you're bringing in the old relationship. So sure, you can learn lessons from old relationships and apply those lessons to new relationships. But when you start juxtaposing the two relationships and trying to put them together parallel side by side to make decisions, you officially allow the past into the future, which only causes you to repeat the past. So just a few tips out there if you're wondering whether or not you're able to give your full heart, or if you've been giving your full heart. Pay attention to yourself and whether or not you're able to do things freely when the connection is right.
And see that those were such major indicators, and I'm so glad you shared those, because those sound very justifiable. Like, well, I'm doing that because I have to make sure, and I want to be careful, and I want to, but you're right. Once you start, it's like, what is all that? There's blockages there, because I remember my first, well, let's see. I had a relationship in high school. I don't know if that really counts, but whatever. It was cool. But my first relationship out of high school, I remember that it was just free. I didn't think about nothing. I didn't care. I wasn't measured. It did nothing mattered as long as I was with him. It was just very, and I think that does set the groundwork to fall all the way, because you're not doing that thing where you're like, oh, well, the last person did this or whatever, or this sounds familiar, or this, and all of these things that keep you. It's a lot. That's a lot of weight to carry. It is a lot of barriers put in front of you, between you and the person. So it's definitely much more fun to function without. But again, when you're at our big old age, you think you're doing the right thing by implementing these fail stops, if that's the right word,
right?
To kind of, navigate. You think you done brought your wisdom into it, and there's a fine line, because it's one thing to bring wisdom, and I can tell sometimes I'm still trying to find the fine line, because I do think I have the capability to go in and just be like, I'm like, let's just see, like, I'm ready to be in love. I'm good. Like, I'm not even thinking about, I might hear something and be like, okay. But then some time will go by, and then I got to go back and be like, okay, well, back to that very first thing I heard.
Right.
Should I have been applying wisdom, or put up one of the fail stops and wait a little longer to see what I'm dealing with? So I didn't even think it would be this complicated, but it does. It feels complicated, especially when it's not both of you on the same page, who are just like, I choose you, you choose me. Let's do this and let's work through this together. That's the only way it's going to work. So that's one. And then the second thing you brought up is the way you love your child and your mother. And I find it is challenging for people on both sides, men and women, to give that type of love to people that are not blood.
Right.
It almost seems like some people don't think somebody outside their family is entitled to it.
Right.
Like, no, this is my mom.
Right.
My kids, my kids, my kids.
Right.
You just somebody that, and it's like, but in reality, if you're saying you want marriage, you want growth and all these things, this may not be your spouse yet,
Right.
but you got to start making room and figuring out how, whether it's this person or somebody you find that's different than that person, how are you going to start to make that room and enforce those healthy boundaries and give yourself over in the capacity for someone who's not your blood? It's not safe.
Absolutely.
I know. You know?
Absolutely. I believe that fatherhood is really where I was able to develop my emotional intelligence and really able to develop my patience. And then seeing me do that with my son, and even my son's mother after a point, made me look and say, well, why aren't you? Because you can, right? First it was like, why can't you? Then it's like, nah, clearly you can.
You can.
You're doing it
you
over
can do
here.
it over here.
But over here, you're telling yourself that the reason is big enough. The why is big enough, right? For my son. I love my son. I want him to be healthy. I want him to win more than he could imagine, more than I could imagine. And so my why is big enough to overcome any feeling of, should I teach him a lesson, or should I, should I be adversarial in this moment? And so, that's what it really boils down to in a relationship, that you can see something, you can address something, but it doesn't have to be adversarial.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to cause you to put up a wall. It doesn't have to cause you to have to go on the defensive or go on the offensive. That I can love you so much that, and then a problem appear, and I lean into the problem by having a healthy discussion with you and telling you, hey, I don't want to talk to you to criticize you. I want to have the healthiest relationship and the happiest relationship that we can possibly have. And if we explore this, it may empower me to be able to do that on a higher level. It may empower you to be able to do that on a higher level and lean in. You're not pulling back. You're not being a sucker, right?
Yeah.
You're not being an idiot either. But you can lean into it you can lean into the obstacles and the speed bumps and the life challenges that will present themselves in any relationship that lasts long enough, in a healthy and a positive way.
Facts. And it's all required. It's required, anything less, it's really not going to work.
No.
So we have to be mindful with these, we're ready, this and that. It is, like you said, it's beyond the desire. The desire is a great start. I'm not knocking that. It really is. But if you're not willing to learn to put yourself aside enough, just like you would for your kids, you know what I'm saying? If there was only one meal on the table, I'm not even a mother yet, and I know I'm gonna make sure my kid eat first. Like, you eat. I will have some water until I'll figure it out, but you eat, so until you're kind of ready to implement some of that stuff in a romantic relationship, which again I know is scary because it's not blood. Yes, they could leave. Okay, they could leave.
The funny thing is,
who you gotta be?
Our kids are gonna leave. They're definitely gonna leave.
They probably can't wait at one point. When they get to teenagers, they can't wait to leave.
Right. We will love them unconditionally, knowing that they destined to leave, but be worried about loving someone who may or may not leave.
Yeah, so I don't know what that attachment is. I guess, of course, I could get it because it's like blood, so it's safety in a certain capacity. It's like, this is my mom, this is my dad, this is my child. There's gonna be a connection and a bond regardless, but yeah, I can kind of see, not only in my relationships, but friends, we talk. I see all these other things, and I'm like, no, like, why they so quick and ready to give up when you would never do that. But we gotta watch you, bleed your whole self out for your mother, for your kids, It's hard to watch, and it just doesn't fly. I could never consider giving myself over now after that. It's like, oh no, because you're not going to take care of me. Your priority lies in, so.
Right. Yeah. My mom asked me to come by today and help her with some stuff around the house. She's trying to do her spring cleaning, and it's like, my pleasure. And I don't know what she could have asked me to do that it's not my pleasure. So if I find myself in a romantic relationship and I'm getting requests and my attitude is like,
why am I going to go clean for her?
It's like, why? there's an issue there if that is the mindset. And so
That's
You know,
good.
I tell my lady, you come to my house, this the Ritz Carlton. What you need?
Yes.
You know what I
Well,
mean? If you tell me
my
in
feet
advance
was
about
hurting.
stuff
I'm
that you like,
hungry.
I'm gonna have it here. I'm gonna
Yes.
get it for you. There is no,
Yes.
oh, you've been here so long, get your own water, or any of that.
Yes.
That my overall attitude is, I'm I'm trying to impress you with the level of hosting and customer service that I'm willing to provide to make sure that you have a great customer experience
Yeah. 5 stars and a review.
while you're with me, right? It's
Yeah.
like I remember taking a young lady to one of my favorite restaurants, and they were acting a little wonky at first, and I was like, are they about to embarrass me? Like, this lady's here from out of town, and I'm taking her somewhere because my intent is to impress her, and I literally like pulled the manager aside, like, y'all about to, like, I'm used to a customer experience in here, and I'm afraid in this first 5 minutes that y'all about to let me down and embarrass me. Don't
Right.
do that. Right? And they pulled it together, right? It was like, okay,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, because I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. Don't have me endorsing.
I done got my people over
situations.
here. I done told people about you and you.
Right. And we have to look at ourselves the same way, because most
Yes.
of us have our chests poked out that we're a good partner, right? Most
Yeah.
of us are telling us we ready, and if we not the problem, and okay, live up to it.
Yes.
Live up to
Absolutely.
it. Yes.
And you know what? That's not too much to ask. So I think, again, with this whole thing, I love discussing it because there's so much nuance to it. And I know it's relatable to so many people. So I just hope we can all get it together at some point and find our
We've
way
been
to each
normalizing
other.
for so long.
We
That's what that
have.
normalization piece means, that we've been
Correct.
functioning like this for so long that we're mistakenly thinking that, everything is okay. I go to the doctor frequently. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
I'm not scared to find out what's wrong. I'm not scared of, the diagnosis. And, a lot of people are, that they, part of what they've normalized is running from anything that exposes them. Right?
And there's nothing wrong with a diagnosis, because how are you going to war against something or fix it if you don't even know what's going on or what's wrong? It's an opportunity to welcome it. But like you said, if we normalize the dysfunction of, I don't know, I don't hear, I've been doing what I've been doing, this, and this is the energy. It keeps people away. It keeps love away. It keeps,
Hey.
and you can tell, because there's some people that I meet too, and they're amazing. Again, I'm not talking about trash people here. I'm seeing incredible men, incredible women, and I'm like, what is happening? And it's just the ignoring of these symptoms and just the normalizing the dysfunction, the what do you call it? Like God, I just had the word on the tip of my tongue. But basically, when you went to sharing the two things that keep us normalizing the dysfunction, justifying those things, justifying, oh my God, that's a red flag. Oh my God, well, this is this, so that means that. So no, like I want to have these conversations so we could just take a look. I'm just saying, take a look. Hey, I'm not trying to nothing else, but just take a little look. See, it might be you, it might not. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Because I know I'm gonna be thinking about that now when you say it, because I am one of those people. I'm like, no, yeah, I did my work. Like, I'm ready. I don't feel like, because I can go through the hard things. Like, I feel like I'm built for the tough things. So I'm not afraid of an ugly conversation. I'm not afraid to cry and then come back in the morning. I'm not afraid. I'm gonna stand there and do it because I know that's what it takes. But that certainly doesn't mean that I don't have little defenses and things that I just had for a long time. And I can't even see it because it's part of it's like my arm. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, so we got to kind of put this stuff out there so we can navigate.
Yeah, that's one of the ways I try to, create comfort is, dispelling the myth that I'm perfect. Like, hey, hitch or no hitch, I'm a human being just like everybody else. Everything about me is not pretty. There's good, there's bad, and there is. So you don't have to present as perfect either. The right person will love you for who you are. And like I said, we have to trust in ourselves. We have to allow our hearts to be broken open and trust that our heart is the strongest muscle on our body. And believe it or not, you know, when we make a different agreement with how we process disappointment and even heartbreak, we can really achieve different results. So instead of conceding that we all have to play the game in dating and relationships, concede that every relationship is different, that every connection is different, right? And that you can give your full healthy self and come out okay, more than okay.
You
Better
can
than
come
ever
out
before.
okay.
You come out better than ever before.
True.
When it works out, and when it doesn't, you'll be fine.
Look at us, alive. We still here.
What with all the options and opportunity on the planet?
Look at that. So one last thing I'll say about showing your whole self is, I don't know, maybe you can agree with this too, but there's something so endearing and beautiful with effed up people. Like, you don't got to be all the way messed up, but it's like, we're all a sucker for a good sob story, or for a good overcoming, or for a good, like, wow, like what you thought was so ugly. I find that so beautiful that you were able to go through that, or that you endured that, or that you were able to share that with me. It almost opens up a deeper level of love. However, we're all so afraid to be like, oh, I got this scar right here. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. It looks like a, you know what I mean? It's so cool. And it's like, oh, you love
Right.
me more? I thought this was so ugly, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I can remember 10 years ago, a young lady saying this to me. And since then, I found out it was a quote, but at that time, I don't think I had ever heard of it. And she was like, you know, I was still broken when you met me, and you keep trying to pick up the broken pieces, and I keep cutting you, right? And so just, you know, her take ownership of that. Like, hey, you know what? This last week, it wasn't you. You know what I mean? My brokenness hadn't showed up this whole time because we've been having such an amazing time and doing such amazing things that there wasn't even an opportunity for my brokenness to show up. But here we are with a little bit of time in between seeing one another, and my brokenness is showing up. And so, yeah, definitely, you know, I loved her even more in that moment because I knew her better in that moment. And so, yeah, I can appreciate people's imperfection. Perfectly imperfect is what the person will be for you.
I love it. I love that. So good. Well, this was an amazing conversation per usual.
Absolutely.
So before we get out of here, I see some of you guys in the chat. Thanks for enjoying the combo. Hey, Tawny. Hey, guys. Drop an emoji if you guys love this conversation, you agree with it. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you got value. And so, Inyatu, tell everybody where to find you.
Okay, on this happy Win With Me Wednesday, you can get a free 15-minute consultation at thehitchagency.com. If you go there on your cell phone, please turn your phone landscape so can sort of show the website the way it's intended. It's a little wonky if you hold it the other way because it pushes the words in to make them show up. On Instagram, I am Yatu Marvel is Hitch, and on Facebook, I am my government name, in Yatu Marvel. And soon I am going to stop resisting and normalizing dysfunction of not having a TikTok and not engaging people on my Twitter, right? And so be on the lookout for that coming soon.
Oh my God, I love that. So I'm always on Twitter. I actually like Twitter more than anything, but I'm more of like a retweeter and a commenter. It's silly. It's not business related. But
Right.
I did start the sassy method on TikTok, and I was so proud because there was so much resistance. But I even posted 2 videos last night just because I was like, girl, just post. And I'm like, so I get it. So
Nice.
just get out there and do it. I did it last night.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Yes, absolutely. And y'all know the drill. You can follow me here on Instagram. Make sure you spell my name correctly. And if you look at the link in my bio, I have Get Sassy, where ladies, you can meet with me for 20 minutes and let's get to the root of your issues and pull them out so you can live a more aligned life. I'm having so much fun with the women that I'm coaching. There's been extraordinary results. I'm going to have to start doing some video testimonials because they could probably tell you better than me, which is crazy. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And we'll see y'all in the next video.
Absolutely. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.